They thought they could bury my career, not knowing I was the one holding the keys to their world. My own family, parents who raised me, a brother who shared my childhood, tried to sabotage everything I'd built. But what started as betrayal became the ultimate masterclass in quiet power. Stick around, because this isn't just a story of revenge, it's a blueprint for anyone who's ever been underestimated, overlooked, or told their dreams were too big. If you're ready to learn how to turn pain into purpose, hit that subscribe button. This is the story of how I turned a $500 million secret into a legacy that speaks louder than any applause. I'm Melissa Tran, but in the biotech world, I'm known as Mel. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Everland Dynamics, a Seattle-based firm pushing the boundaries of medical innovation. 2 months ago, I became its majority owner, a secret I guarded even from those closest to me. But to understand why I kept that secret, we need to go back, way back, to a small house in Atlanta, where I grew up as the quiet one in a family that always seemed to cheer for someone else. My younger brother, Ryan, was the golden child. Charismatic, confident, he was the son my parents pinned their hopes on. They paid for his Stanford tuition, celebrated his every milestone, and framed his yacht party Instagram posts like they were museum art. Me? I was the scholarship kid, scraping by at Georgia Tech, studying biomedical engineering while working late-night tutoring gigs and coding apps on the side. "You're so independent, Mel," my mom would say, her tone equal parts pride and dismissal. Independent didn't cover it. I was surviving, building dreams in the shadows while Ryan basked in the spotlight. The divide wasn't just financial, it was emotional. I remember one Christmas when I was 16, proudly showing my parents a prototype for a blood glucose monitor I'd built for a science fair. They nodded politely, then spent the rest of dinner praising Ryan's debate team win. That night, I promised myself I'd build something so undeniable, no one could ignore it. But I'd do it my way, quietly, strategically, without needing their validation. Fast forward to my 20s. While Ryan climbed the corporate sales ladder, I was in the trenches of biotech entrepreneurship. My first startup, a diagnostic tool for early-stage cancer detection, was a gamble. I bootstrapped it with savings from my side gigs, worked 80-hour weeks, and faced rejection after rejection from investors who doubted a young woman with no pedigree. But at 27, I sold that company for $50 million. 2 years later, my second startup, a gene therapy platform, fetched $180 million. Why didn't I shout these wins from the rooftops? Because I'd seen what money did to people. My parents worshipped Ryan's stable job, dismissing my work as risky experiments. At family dinners, my mom would say, "Talk to Ryan, Mel. He can get you into real business." I smiled, nodded, and kept my secrets. I funneled my profits through shell companies, stayed off press releases, and let the world think I was just another mid-level exec. But behind the curtain, I was plotting my biggest move yet, acquiring Everland Dynamics. Everland was a diamond in the rough, an undervalued biotech firm with groundbreaking patents in immunotherapy. I saw its potential when I joined as a strategist a year ago. Using a web of private trusts, I quietly bought up shares until I controlled the company. When the board named me CSO, they thought they were promoting a loyal employee. They didn't know they'd just handed the reins to the owner. My promotion was the spark that lit the fuse. Ryan, who'd always been the family's success story, couldn't handle it. At our monthly family dinner, he smirked, "Must be nice to catch a break, Mel. But corporate leadership's a different beast than your science projects." My parents chimed in, "Ryan could mentor you, sweetheart. He's managed teams for years." I bit back a laugh, thinking of the acquisition papers locked in my safe. "I'll keep that in mind," I said, sipping my wine. But Ryan wasn't done. My rise threatened his place as the family's star. He started showing up at Everland for casual lunches with department heads, dropping hints about my overwhelmed leadership. Then came the anonymous tips to HR, baseless claims about falsified degrees and inflated credentials. I disproved them easily, but the message was clear: someone wanted me gone. The final blow landed yesterday. A sealed envelope arrived at the board's office, stuffed with forged bank statements, doctored emails, and a timeline painting me as a fraud, embezzlement, insider trading, the works. It was a masterpiece of malice. I knew it was Ryan. His smug glow at dinner that night confirmed it. "The board wants me at their meeting tomorrow," he announced, as my parents beamed. "Big changes at the top, they say." They didn't even ask why I wasn't invited to a meeting about my own job. That night, I sat in my home office, surrounded by Ryan's forged documents. I should have been furious, but I felt calm, focused. Ryan's betrayal wasn't just an attack, it was an opportunity. For years, I'd been underestimated, dismissed as the quiet geek who'd never outshined the golden boy. Now, I had a stage to rewrite the narrative. I spent hours compiling my own dossier, recordings of Ryan's whispers to colleagues, emails tracing his smear campaign, and, most importantly, the ownership structure of Everland Dynamics. By 3 a.m., my plan was airtight. The board meeting at 9 a.m. would be more than a defense, it would be a reckoning. Here's the first lesson I learned: when someone underestimates you, let them. Their overconfidence is your greatest weapon. Ryan thought he'd won because he had my parents' applause and a slick dossier. He didn't know I'd been preparing for this moment my entire life. Friday morning, I arrived at Everland early, watching from my office as Ryan started into the lobby, sharp suit and sharper ego. My parents trailed behind, dressed for a victory they hadn't earned. At 8:45, they were escorted to the executive conference room, followed by the board, their faces grim as per my instructions. At 9 o'clock, I walked in, interrupting Marcus Chen, our board chair. "These allegations against Ms. Tran are extremely serious." "Sorry I'm late," I said brightly, taking my seat. Ryan's head snapped up, confusion cracking his smug grin. "Mel, this is a closed session," he snapped. "You weren't invited." I smiled. "Actually, I invited myself. It's hard to hold a board meeting without the company's owner." The silence was electric. Ryan's jaw dropped. My mom blinked rapidly. My dad looked like he'd choked on his coffee. "What are you talking about?" Ryan sputtered. "Everland's a public company." "Correction," I said, nodding to my assistant, Isla, who handed out folders. "Everland was public until 2 months ago, when it was purchased by Tran Strategic Holdings. Care to guess who owns that?" As the board flipped through the documents, gasps rippled around the table. I'd kept my ownership secret even from them, a strategic choice to avoid leaks. Now, the truth landed like a thunderbolt. Ryan stammered, "This is insane. You can't afford. Just a lab geek, right?" I cut in, smiling. "Let's clear that up." Isla tapped her tablet, and Ryan's voice filled the room, clips of him undermining me to colleagues. "Melissa's not leadership material. She's going to crash hard." Another clip: "Any irregularities in her department's finances? Might be worth a look." Every lie, every manipulation, played back like a courtroom exhibit. Ryan sank into his chair, his face ashen. Then I held up his envelope of forged documents. "Attempted character assassination, fabricated misconduct, corporate sabotage," I said. "Did you really think no one would verify this?" "I was protecting the company." Ryan blurted, his voice cracking. "You're not qualified. You've never been the one who wins." I leaned forward, voice steady. "No, Ryan. I'm the one who deserves to expose you, for endangering this company with lies." My mom's voice broke the silence. "Mel, you wouldn't ruin your brother's life. Like he didn't try to ruin mine?" I shot back. "Like you didn't come here to watch it happen?" I turned to my dad, who'd raised a weak hand. "We were just supporting Ryan." "No," I said, voice sharp. "You bet on the wrong horse, like always." I faced the board. "I apologize for the theatrics, but you needed to see the truth. Ryan's actions exposed Everland to legal and regulatory risk. Here's what I propose: first, document that all allegations against me are false, backed by verified evidence. Second, send a letter to Ryan's employer detailing his misconduct, including these recordings. His behavior should follow him. Finally, ban Ryan and my parents from Everland property. Any interference will trigger legal action. Ryan's voice cracked. You'll destroy my career. Like you tried to destroy mine? I asked. The difference is, my evidence is real. My mom sobbed, Mel, we're family. I laughed, short and cold. Family supports each other. Family doesn't forge documents because they can't handle your success. I slid one final folder across the table, my ace. This is the acquisition contract for my first biotech company, sold for $50 million at 27. My second, $180 million 2 years later. I glanced at my dad. I could have bought that golf club membership you wanted. Paid for every luxury trip you gave Ryan. But I stayed quiet to see who'd stand by me when I had nothing. You all failed that test. The room was silent. Ryan whispered, You're firing me from my life. No, I said softly. Your actions did that. I'm just making sure the truth follows you. The board meeting adjourned, and security escorted Ryan and my parents out. Ryan's career imploded within days. His employer fired him after reviewing the evidence. My parents left tearful voicemails, begging for forgiveness. I archived them, keeping my distance. Their approval, once my deepest craving, no longer mattered. 3 months later, I was working late when Isla buzzed my office. Someone's here. Says it's personal. It was Ryan, but not the polished version I knew. He wore a plain shirt, no flashy watch, and carried a manila envelope. I'm not staying, he said, placing it on my desk. This has everything, passwords, contacts, info I used against you. I'm also sending a letter to my employer and your board, owning my mistakes. I studied him. Why now? Because you were right, he said, voice low. I wasn't building anything real. You did, and I hated you for it. I'm starting over, entry level at a startup. No shortcuts. He turned to leave, then paused. Letting me fail taught me more than our parents ever did. Ryan, I called as he reached the door. He turned, hope flickering in his eyes. Send me your resume in a year. Not for a leadership role, but if you're serious about earning it, we're always looking for people who work their way up. He nodded, a single tear falling, and left. 6 months later, Everland Dynamics is soaring. We're developing therapies for rare diseases, creating jobs across the Pacific Northwest, and proving biotech can change lives. My corner office overlooks Seattle's skyline, a view I earned not to prove others wrong, but to prove I was right to believe in myself. My parents still send messages, usually when they want to brag about their CEO daughter at country club dinners. I keep contact polite but distant. Ryan sends occasional updates. A holiday card last week read, You succeeded despite us. I'm learning to do the same. He's grinding at his startup, no longer chasing shortcuts. I hope he makes it. Here's what I've learned, and what I hope you take away. Own your worth, even when no one sees it. I spent years in the shadows, not because I doubted myself, but because I knew my work would speak louder than my pain. If you're being overlooked, keep building, your results will outshine the noise. Turn betrayal into strategy. Ryan's attack could have broken me, but I used it to reveal my strength. When someone tries to tear you down, don't just defend, plan your counterstrike with precision. Build a support network. I didn't do this alone. Mentors, colleagues like Isla, and even my own grit carried me. Find your allies, even if they're not your family. Success is your loudest revenge. I didn't need to scream my wins. My actions, acquisitions, innovations, a thriving company, did that for me. Focus on what you're building, not who you're proving wrong. I'm sharing this not for applause, but because I know some of you are out there, working late, being underestimated, maybe even betrayed by those you love. You're the quiet ones, the ones building empires in the shadows. I see you, and I'm rooting for you. So, what's your story? Drop a comment, tell me about a time you were overlooked or fought back. What's the dream you're building, even if no one believes in it yet? This space isn't just for my story, it's for yours. And if you're on your journey, here's my challenge: write down one goal you're chasing, and one step you'll take this week to get closer. Share it with someone who believes in you, or with us in the comments. Support this channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing, not just for the next chapter of my story, but for yours. Because success isn't about proving others wrong, it's about proving to yourself that you were always enough. Keep going. The world's waiting to see what you build. I'm Melissa Tran, and I'm listening.